The females are in other cages, and they have 4 per cage, and they stay in a heated area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Sewell.
Thank you. Just a minute. Through the same lens as we would the previous bylaw regarding bees, et cetera. And in that regard, I'm glad I noticed, and I'm happy to see that you've got regulations or proposed regulations that deal with sanitization and cleaning requirements, training, flight time restrictions, and probably very importantly for me, neighbor consultation prior to approval. There's a couple of 3 other areas that I would really appreciate being looked at. One is in regards to the runs themselves. I think it's important that we include something that requires a regular cleaning, either being the loft being painted also and or lime washed, and the runs, of course. This is an effort to keep the odors down, and there should probably, and I'm sure you've already thought of this, some regulation that would enable the license to be cancelled by the town for non-compliance. And lastly, I think this was I think the brilliance of the bee legislation was the requirement that the owner be a member of an organization that deals with this. So in this, and the gentleman might very well be. It sounds like he probably is an owner of the pigeon organization, if that's how it goes. So I think that should be something that is required, and that goes to the professionalism and the manner in which the pigeons are going to be dealt with. So if those areas are covered in the bylaw and regs, then I've got no problem with this. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sobel. Any other questions or comments? Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
So you are looking for direction. You're planning to bring this as a bylaw to us then at a later
Yes.
time? Okay. Thank you. And that brings us to municipal building signage and public art update. And Tracy Simpson, are you doing this? No? You're leaving.
The next stopper should be coming in.
Okay, thank you.
My own theme song coming in. Something from Top Gun has to be. Thank you, Council. We do have a quick presentation if you'd like one. Otherwise, happy to. Okay, thank you very much. So we're excited just to share a quick update on the municipal building signage and public art. So over the past 3 months, there's been a small group that's been formed of internal staff. That's with Councillor Peterson, James Thackeray, Linda, Ethan Wilson, and also myself. And we've been really fortunate to bring in some great external members as well. Kevin Munchrath from Triumph Design, who's doing some of the work for us, and Tom Sadler and Brandy Hebbs, who have been really helping to form some of the artwork and the stories and the themes that we are trying to focus on with this committee. So that the key goals that we are trying to establish in here is to identify all the signage that's required in the new building. That includes things like the meeting rooms and the public washrooms and some of the external signage. Creating a signage theme and a plan, so it really speaks to what this building wants to be and to really tell a story. Establish a public art side of things in terms of kind of working with some of our local artists and looking at some of the opportunities we have, partnering with some of the local stakeholders and the experts as we talked about. So really trying to get more of a local theme and to feed of all the expertise we have. And we are here obviously with some recommendations and to receive some feedback from council. Just a quick slide on some of the budget and the timelines for this project. We do have $60,000. That is part of the approved budget for the building. This includes for the signage, and it's part of the approved soft costs for the building. Any remaining budget could then be used to acquire public art, and part of some of the work that we've been doing is we do think there's some really great opportunities for some free public art opportunities here. So we don't want council to get too caught up on that there's not enough budget. We do think there's some great opportunities here for us to partner with some local artists to get some public art opportunities. Just some of the timelines and why we're here today and why we'd really like some strong feedback from council is that the team is aiming for an August 31st tender for the signage types and the materials. So obviously this is the last opportunity we'll have with you prior to then. September and October is when we will come back and talk about more of the actual specifics, like the meeting room names and more of the actual detail. But what we are looking forward here is just some strong direction on the overall names, the themes, and the process to name those meeting rooms. So the three key things we're asking for council today, and I think I'll take some time in between each one so we don't get complicated in the discussion, is first the official name of the building. So there's the name so far that's been used as the Strathmore Municipal Building. That's the name that's been bandied about most of the time with most of the reports. We have another option with Strathmore Town Hall, and we're looking for council feedback with those two, or if there's any other options that you'd like to have.
I'd like to speak to Justin. One of the things that Justin Sorry, Your Worship. You didn't even say I could talk. Sitting over here, Deb's power has gone to my head. Like, I just... one of the things that Justin pointed out when we talked about the name was if we use the term Strathmore Municipal Building, we don't get into the controversy of whether we're a town or someday in the near future a city. So that is why the committee is more in favor of the Strathmore Municipal Building.
Thank you for that. So are you looking for response from us now then?
Yes, we'd like to pick an option if that's
Councillor
if people
Corbeil?
are in favor.
Thank you, Your Worship. Me personally, I am not swayed one way or another. If your group is more comfortable with Strathmore Municipal Building, I am all for it.
And I think I would echo that too, if that's what your committee feels, I think. Okay.
There you go.
Thank you. The second part then is getting into the signage themes and the colors. So I had the pleasure of spending an afternoon with Councillor Peterson and Tom Sadler in his house, and it's an amazing house if anyone hasn't been there. But there were some really great pictures and stories that we went through, and the team got together and really summarized, what are the key themes and the key storylines of really how this town grew and what it's really known for. So the 5 key themes that we looked at is the CP Rail, the demonstration farms, the Western, the WID, the agricultural farming community and its history, and then the town's relationship with Siksika Nation. These themes were then presented to Kevin Munstrath with Triumph Design, and he really started to do some research in terms of reflecting those key themes in the colors that we'd like for the signage. So colors such as the blue and the royal blue reflect the canal system and the lakes. The earth tone values are more of the agricultural. The wood grain is sort of the farming and the industry in the building. The rust color is more of the ode to the history. Leather, again, are a reflection of the relationship with Siksika Nation, and just the overall multicolor variety reflecting diversity of our people and the town. The next step was then taking those themes and colors and putting into some signage elements as to really what the architectural finish and the element finish and some of the colors of those signs would look like. So again, reflecting the farm and the indigenous culture and the CP rail, we've got elements such as the wood grain, the leather representation, the black antiques of the metal accents from CP rail with the rail spikes, and then just some overall plastics and composite materials what the signs will be actually made up of. And again, some of those more symbolic elements with the railway ties, the canal system, water, grain and livestock color. And we've got a few samples here of what the signs could look like, and I think they're included in your binder as well. These are the pictures that we actually took from Tom Sadler's collection. You can sort of see in the background of each of the signs, so it was a really great idea that Kevin had to reflect the great pictures within our signs, and that they would be part of all the signage of the meeting rooms and directional signage. And these are just some more pictures of what the outside could look like. And again, there's some different ideas with the signs. We could go for obviously color renderings or more of that black and white image on the top there. So yeah, we're just asking for council feedback on this, what their thoughts are on the process, the themes and the colors, and just if the team is going down the right path with working with Kevin on what he's proposing.
Councillor Bauer, followed by Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship.
I stole it from.
First of all, Justin, I just want to say this is really exciting. It just pleased me so much to see that so much of what Strathmore is and was and will be is represented in this report. I also just love the committee, the people that you have. Tom Sadler with just the wealth of history in his photographs. Having that in the background of each of those meeting rooms is just going to make it even more iconic and really something relatable. So I love that. I love that you've engaged Kevin Muntrath. He is such a creative force, and he has so much talent.
Yes.
And anything that he has been able to help us with, either at a business level or with the town, has just been a success. And I think that this will be too. I really like the boldness. So I like the Strathmore with a little more oomph. I like the partnership that you have shown with so many of our historical partners as well as our current partners. The only thing I'm wondering is, our canola fields. I'm just thinking that yellow, and this is just me, having a husband who's such a photographer. I love the gold. I love that. I would even entertain it if it were a bit brighter. But I think that this is a fabulous start, and I look forward to you coming to us with more. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Oh, this has been a strange evening. I'm using the wrong microphone.
Yeah, that's mine.
Oh,
I don't have power.
okay.
There you go.
Councillor Montgomery.
Thank you, Your Worship. Yeah, thank you very much, Justin, for this. I think everything looks really good, actually. I think the committee's off to a great start. And one thing I was going to mention actually is like I think a number of our residents would be surprised to learn that about 1/6 of our population is actually Indigenous, so people that are from Siksika. And I can think of no better way to honor that than to name one of the 6 rooms after, with an Indigenous theme or with guidance from a Siksika person. And yeah, and I think, just being able to kind of, pay tribute to, some of our other historical partners is great. And yeah, so I think that, I think you guys are on a good path, actually. And, I unfortunately don't really have a particular favorite out of those ones that you showed. I think they all look good, so.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Montgomery. Councillor Cox.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Justin. I, not artistic at all, so have no input with that. I trust couple of you to do that. My question's a little bit more technical. As Kevin Montrath is on your committee, is he still able to tender for the signage?
Through the chair, I don't have a response to that right now.
Okay,
will
I
have
just
to,
would like, I would
chat
hate
with
to
our
see him do all of
project
this
team
and then not be able to tender
Right.
the
I will chat with
work himself.
Ethan and then also Michael, who run the project team for that answer.
Perfect.
I kind of asked that question,
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Thank you, Councillor Cox, that's a
Thank
good
you.
point. Councillor Corbeil?
Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you, Justin and Councillor Peterson. Everything looks great so far. I have no comments one way or another, which one I like better or nothing like that. My only comment was, I'm sure that with Tom Sadler and everybody and their photographs and stuff, I was just gonna suggest actually the station for other photographs if we ever needed. I'm sure you would have thought about it, but if you didn't, there you go.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Corbeil. Councillor Peterson?
Thank you. And a lot of the ones that the station have are Tom's. Yeah, yeah. And so Justin doesn't know that Tom Sadler is pretty particular about who he shares his artwork with. And so it was really encouraging to see how thrilled he was with the concepts that Justin was bringing to him and the work that he'd done. And then he gave Justin his CD of all of his collected photos, most of which he's paid for himself, that are not public domain. But one of the really interesting things when I talked to Randy Alexander, who's someone that we've discussed, not on the committee, but just in advisement, and we were talking about the room, when I was talking to him about the rooms and the signing, and he said, I see in your fire trucks that you have Omatikoki on that. He said, why don't you put that on one of your rooms? And with Strathmore underneath it, he said, it just fits with everything else you've done. But he said something else that really meant something to me, and it follows with what, and I think that 10% of our, 12% of our population is Siksika, but he said, the majority of the people who come into the community from Siksika don't live here. And he said, when all the work that your council has done in building inclusion and belonging and honoring of both cultures, he said, what you do is more important probably on the outside than on the inside. And so I love the demonstration that you put on the back here on the murals. And one of the things that we talked about was talking about that history in those murals of doing Indigenous in one, and then, talking about the original people, and then the settler CPR connection, and then the WID urban agriculture that fits with our strategic plan, and then something about the future, about our children, what that would look like. And so I just, a lot of encouragement to Justin for what he's done and what he's brought, and talking about public galleries, all kinds of cooperation for that. He talked about Tom setting up displays in with all of the pictures that he does have, because and he has more than just that. He has some pretty impressive other unique collections. But yeah, anyway, it was good to hear the other thing I wanted to mention about the outside. When Randy Alexander talked about the outside of the building, Linda Bernicki's been very involved in the Indigenous garden concept as well. So that's all I have. Thanks.
That's good. Thank you. Thank you, Councillor Peterson. Justin, do you and Councillor Peterson have enough direction as far as?
I think so.
I
Yeah,
think
absolutely.
we're good? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you. I have one more.
Okay.
And this is just for the meeting room naming process, which I think Councillor Montgomery spoke to very, very quickly. But again, the committee had really two ideas on how to move forward with this. We have 8 meeting rooms that we need to name. So one thought was to work with the Siksika Council to provide some of the Blackfoot names and really reflect the direction that the town is in, and we really want to go and speak to themes like unity and inclusion, and also diversity, hope, and integration. So really focusing on where we are now and where we'd like to be and what we're proud of. Second one, there were some ideas also to open it up to the public in Ashe General and go through an engagement process over the summer and receive feedback or some ideas in terms of themes like landmarks, people, or organizations. So We sort of have two ways to go here, and it'd be great to get some formal direction on this, because we'd be implementing this process over August and September. So, or if you had any other thoughts on how that naming process could go.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Bauer?
Thank you, Worship. Is it possible to do a little bit of both?
Yes, absolutely.
Because,
I mean, with
one-
we have 8 rooms, so you could go 4 and 4, 6 and 2. you know.
Because you've said themes such as landmarks, people, and our organizations, but we are also known for something that few people know. From the Western District Historical Society, it was brought up that we had a cow that was named Sylvia, and
came up at that
Sylvia produced
Yeah.
the most milk.
Yeah.
In all of Canada. And, you know, having something like a Sylvia room wouldn't be so far-fetched. Okay, good. So I would like to kind of put that forward, and I don't want to ever think that we're excluding anyone. So I would also like to just put forward that I think if we're going to work with Siksika Council, that perhaps we work with Wheatland Council as well, and see if they have any input in this regard as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bauer. Any other comments for Justin? Councillor Montgomery?
Yeah, like I personally like the idea of like a hybrid system, as I said, like, and, you know, even being able to name like the meeting room where we plan on meeting with Siksika, if we could name that, you know, something to do with like, you know, unity, or like, I think, what is it, Pamaki, or, like, anyways, so they have a word that we've been kind of, you know, like using as kind of our word to kind of, you know, for what we've been working on. So something along those lines I think would be great, you know, as a way to kind of pay tribute to them. But yeah, and then, you know, like I think being able to name it after, you know, like, yeah, like people or landmarks, or even, you know, some of like the flora or fauna that's kind of like local to Strathmore. I think that'd be a cool idea.
Great.
Thank you, Councillor Montgomery. Councillor Peterson?
I just want to go back to that idea that we have consulted with Randy, who was initially appointed to the committee, but COVID has, I have consulted with him. And I think that, like I said, the outside will be what they're more concerned about. And in terms of naming on the inside, they said, the chances of us coming to you to name one, if we build a new building, like, they're just saying, be realistic, so tell your story, but tell your story on the outside, But the other thing I wanted to talk about was what Justin was referencing, the pictures that Tom Sadler had in terms of the names. When they do those through the building, they wanted to do it like it would tell a story, like a historical story. So almost like a walking tour within the building itself.
That sounds really good. I really appreciate that. I would lean towards some of the things that the other councillors have said, that a hybrid or a blending of some of those ideas for room naming would be really good.
Okay.
You want to do a public engagement? Do you want to do a public engagement?
Like maybe even for like one or two of the rooms or something like that, like over the public.
Just submit. I wouldn't do engagement.
We do submissions, that's what we'd ask for, like on the website.
Yep,
Yeah.
why not?
Yeah, I think that would be fine. It would probably help as far as the community feeling some ownership of the place as well.
So maybe we'll take a bit of a hybrid approach, as you said, and we'll engage both the
Okay.
community. And I think we'll work with Linda Benicki on some of the Indigenous. And just this last picture I said that Councillor Peterson referred to, we've got a great opportunity on the outside there with the murals. As I said, we've got sort of they call it fall windows right now, but again, in terms of those themes and that story and what's on the outside, there's a great opportunity to have that. And there's some really neat areas in the building, even in terms of some public art displays that we can actually rotate some of our thoughts, where once the town hall is actually created, to set up a town hall public art group that is in charge of actually rotating all the pieces to work with some of the artists locally, and that obviously that'll go through council in terms of rule. But we want to keep the space vibrant and exciting and not stale. So, that's an exciting opportunity as once this is built to move forward, to establish a group that will work with some of the local artists.
Good, thank you very much. Councillor Sobel?
Thanks, and I've got full faith in the committee that's on this, and I'm very happy that we have this group of people working on this, and I'm sure it's going to be gorgeous. I don't know if you can do this or you have any intentions of doing this, but is it possible to, once the committee does make a decision on this, is to come back and let council know what those decisions are? That'd be
Absolutely, yeah.
that'd be
Our
great, just to
plan is
keep
to
us
come back
keep
in
us
September.
appraised and following along.
Oh, absolutely. The names of the rooms will be approved by council. We will.
Great, and you know how to spell my last name,
Absolutely.
right? Okay.
Oh, I thought there was two L's. Oh, one L, sorry, yes.
Thank you very much, Councillor Sobel, and thank you for your presentation. We have Councillor Bauer again.
I'm sorry, Your Worship, I just thought of one more thing. I'm very mindful, Justin, when I pass by on a day-to-day basis on Park Lane Drive, that although this building does embrace Kinsman Park, that there is also a wall that is going to be facing a road. Are there any ideas to soften that up a little bit, either with murals or plant material, because there's not a lot of space there. And so I am concerned that that part of the building is not forgotten. Is that something that you're considering as a committee as well?
Through the chair, it's just signage right now. There is an entrance off of Park Lane Drive, that there will be signage there. We can work together with the team to look at how that interface can be further improved or softened up. I do know that there is landscaping on there. I believe it's mostly windows on that side. Again, we will definitely take a look at that
Okay.
interface. That comment will take.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Justin, again for your presentation, and I think you have some direction now for you and your committee.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And Jennifer, if I can turn to you for some guidance, we're now to come out of committee of the whole? Or do we have to pass a resolution on any of these?
No, I don't
No.
think there's any resolution. We can adjourn the committee meeting. I don't believe we actually need to.
Oh,
We did. They did? Yeah. Okay, so, sorry. So yes, we need to come out of committee of the whole and then adjourn, and then if we can go into the in-camera.
okay, thank you. So, Councillor Corbio? Councillor Montgomery, sorry, I'm always turning to you.
I'll move we extend the meeting. I'm just joking. I'll move we come out of committee of the whole.
Thank you. We have a motion to come out of committee of the whole. All in favor?
That was a death stare, like daggers. I seen them.
This isn't good because it's not